Once upon a time, Henry was a rat that lived on a modular mat. Henry's friends were rats too. They lived on the modular rug with a host of other animals. Henry performed an everyday task such as defecating and eating in the rug with his rat gang. One day, Henry saw that one of the mandalas was being covered by a turtle. Henry politely told the turtle to move, however, the turtle did not move. This was probably because the turtle was Eduardo the turtle, who had very little time to sleep last night due to his night activities. Eduardo was a party turtle who liked to abuse substances, and thus he was found hungover on top of a mandala. Henry knew of these habits and attempted to exploit them. He had his rat gang pull up dirt on Eduardo. This was because the mandala was a sacred spot on the rug for Henry and the rat gang. Eduardo finally woke up when Henry and his rat gang said, "Somebody touch my spaghetti." Eduardo, startled by the vast amount of rats, states that he doesn't know where he is and it wasn't him. Confused by his statements, Henry investigates himself to dig up what happened at last night and to report to him what happened. Henry was a slim rat and very shady. However, Henry always looked out for his rat gang. His homie was Orlando, a slim rat, but he was cleaner than Henry. However, Orlando had ties to the flamingos living in the South District of the Flamingo Mandalas, which allows him to learn from the best regarding learning about an investigation. This made Orlando a very influential figure in the Rat Mandala sector. The rat gang got to work and moved the turtle to the inner mandalas of the rat sector. Meanwhile, Orlando decided that he should be investigating this matter himself, and he and an investigative team of the elite rats started looking into the business. The rat investigators brought to light that this wasn't the only turtle that was found sleeping in the Rat Mandala's sector. They decided to tell Henry that they think that these violations were connected to each other. However, they believed that if Henry heard of this, he'd have actions that he'd regret later. Henry thought of this too and decided to look into it himself too, separately from the rat gang. Henry usually took these burdens personally, so it takes a huge toll on his mental health. However, if he's not taking care of an event that could affect his community, he becomes paranoid. Henry thought of the possibilities of the turtle being a random trespassing to a sign of some sort. A sign that a group of another mandala will come and disturb the way of life Henry devoted himself to protect. Orlando visited a witness who reported the crime, a rat named Lucy. She was a plump rat, meaning she was either wealthy or stole. But this wasn't the basis of the crime. Orlando was looking for information, not a conviction. Lucy described she saw footprints near one of the mandalas near north of the rat sector. This, in turn, caused the investigation to go behind Henry's back, because Orlando knew that Henry would cause an all-out war between the two mandala sectors. Orlando and the investigator rats moved to the northern rat sector, which was loosely controlled by the rats. When Orlando and the other rats arrived at the mandala, they saw the footprints were bunny ones. Orlando put the puzzle pieces together and found out that in fact the bunnies were giving dope, causing the turtles to be hung over in rat territory. This had disturbed the rats' peace and thus action needed to be taken, but Orlando had to be smart to handle this situation from leaking. This is because Jody, a rat in the investigation, had been proven in the past to be a snitch to Henry. This caused Orlando to exclude Jody from the current investigation, in which Jody told Henry about. Henry arrived at Eduardo's place in the northern mandala of the rat sector and asked him a few questions, including ones that questioned how he got to the sacred mandala and who sent him there. Eduardo didn't know the answers to any of them, which caused Henry to ask him if he had done drugs, and if he lied he'd be jailed for trespassing on rat property. Eduardo decided to come clean and said that he had gotten drugs from the Bunny Mafia, a group of bunnies that control the southern mandalas. Henry went back to the rat gang's sacred mandala and told the other rats about his findings. Ever since the death of Henry's father, Henry has been ruling over the rat sector and is the leader of the rat party since. Orlando had just arrived at the HQ with the other investigators and bumped into Henry. Henry noticed what the investigators were for, and Orlando decided to come clean and said they were for the strange appearances of turtles doped. Henry was outraged that Orlando would do a private investigation instead of telling him first, but he was eager to hear the information, so he didn't interrupt. Orlando told him about the bunnies' connection and the fact that they've been congregating in the northern lawless mandalas of the Rat sector. Henry, angry of such a betrayal, suppressed the feelings and decided to keep a cool head. He decided that the bunny mafia had to be dealt with because of how it harmed the communities of the Rat gang. Henry proposed later in the weekly meeting that because of acts of aggression to the people of the Rat sector, the Rat gang is inclined to defend itself and repulse the insurgent threat. Even though he wasn't happy with Henry's decisions, Orlando helped Henry mobilize the troops of the Rat sectors and headed north to eliminate the threat. Since the north was inhabited heavily by bunnies armed to defend the mafia. However, Henry has a secret passage that the bunny mafia has no knowledge of. It's a path through the mountains that are impossible to ambush from and no possible way of knowing where it is because it's enchanted. However, Jody, the investigative rat, had relayed this information to the bunny mafia and had betrayed his family, the Rat gang. Soon word got around the camp that the Rat gang set up that more and more bunnies are defending their fortress as they were camping. This meant that to get them while they were vulnerable, Henry and the Rat gang had to move and couldn't stop anymore. As the Rat gang army was arriving at the gate of the bunny mafia, they discovered that not only was it heavily guarded but that Jody in their fortress. Furious of the betrayal, the rats stormed the gates and demolished it. The Rat gang charged through the fortress, not taking prisoners and slaughtering every bunny they saw. The Rat gang soon encountered the head of the bunny defense force and a familiar face. Jody was running away and the bunny defense force was covering his retreat. Henry told the bunny defense force to step aside or get demolished. They chose the latter and was vaporized by the vast numbers of the Rat gang numbering in the thousands. Soon, the army caught up with Jody, but the key members of the bunny mafia had escaped. They returned to their HQ in the Rat gang Mandala and tied Jody up and interrogated him. Jody spilled the beans. He said that he had told the bunny mafia ahead of time of the invasion and that the bunny mafia retreated into the southern mandalas. They went there because rats of the past never went south because of the fact that they believed the south to be spiritually impure. After telling them the information, Henry sent Jody to death and was sent to the dungeons to await death. Later Orlando met with Holly, a don of the bunny mafia, who was negotiating a peace for an exchange of Jody's life. Orlando soon told Henry about his conversation with Holly and Henry prepared an ambush in place. The feast that Henry hosted was a grand one. With peanut butter and sweets from foreign lands, the Rat gang army was well rested and fed. They were ready for a day of action. The Rat gang soon invaded the southern mandalas and was burning through the bunny defenses. Again, the bunny mafia had backed themselves into a corner, and this time Henry made sure they couldn't escape. Soon, Henry and the Rat gang army established an ambush on the surrounding hills while Orlando negotiates. Orlando and Holly were discussing the terms of services, but suddenly bunny forces swooped in and Orlando was injured. This, in turn, made the Rat gang army's blood boil and soon a massacre ensued. The battle resulted in the death of the majority of the bunny defense force and the Rat gang stood victorious. However, Orlando was one of the many casualties. When they arrived home in the sacred mandala, they honored him and his service to his family, the Rat gang.